3 tight ends, 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 2 quarterbacks for your consideration for Week 4's best waiver wire additions. Injuries continue to make us scramble to the waiver wire for free agency pickups as Week 3 concludes. Today we have 10 players to break down before waiver claims process on Wednesday for Week 4 of the 2024 NFL season. With notable injuries for Devonta Smith, Tank Dell, Amari Cooper, Justin Herbert, Ramondre Stevenson, Trey McBride, and Sam Laporta. We'll go position by position and from high priority to low, from tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, to quarterbacks. Don't skip unless you're a hopeless, uncultured swine. We begin with Cole Kmet. At 46%, I know this was his first breakout game this season, but we saw him finish last year with as many targets as George Kittle and more yards than Dalton Kincaid. Week 1, 48% snap. Week 2, 77% snap. Week 3, 81% snap. Targets for Week 1, 1. Week 2, 5. Week 3, 11. He had 97 receiving and 9.7 yards per carry. You may not be able to get him at 46% roster, but I'd check. Tyler Conklin at 14. Are we just going to ignore the 93 yards and his usage over 90% of snaps? I don't think so. Not after showing us what he did on primetime. Tight end is devastated right now. Conklin will still be a viable option, but who isn't at this position? And Cade Otton at 19%. I know his Week 3 performance was disgusting and the Bucs fell flat on their face, but again, it's apocalyptic out here at tight end. It's the same story for him as it is for Conklin. Mans is in there for over 90% of snaps, and he got targeted 8 times and caught 7. That's more than we can say for 80% of starting tight ends. That's your top tight end waivers. Let's look at running back. With Carson Steele at 70%, you're probably too late, but if you listened to last week's video, he looked great, and you're happy. But we'll head running backs with Braylon Allen again this week, since he's still only 45% rostered. I know it's close to 50%, but there aren't a lot of RB3s. You feel good about slotting, and rest assured, after Week 3, we saw that Braylon Allen is going to stay involved. He retained his snap percentage from the previous weeks and targets. He's a premium handcuff. Bucky Ervin at 44%. I love White, but Bucky continues to be more efficient with his opportunity. He's still in like Braylon Allen with 33% of the snap count, but he's a premium handcuff, and he has potential to take over the backfield as White remains somewhat inefficient. And Emmanuel Wilson at 6%. I don't think anyone saw this coming. From 20% snaps through Week 1 and 2 to 41% of snaps, outperforming Josh Jacobs across the board. He's an excellent stash, and if they decide to keep the 1-2 punch, it was highly effective. He becomes an instant premium handcuff. Pick him up and let him sit until we see another week. Those are your best options for running back. Wide receivers next. Let's be honest, you saw this coming. Juwan Jennings at 44%. I know Juwan Jennings has never went over 400 yards in any season. But, there's the but. With the injuries to the receiving core and the Niners, they need answers, all right? And with 175 receiving yards and 12 targets, they found an answer. How long will they be able to get these kind of looks? It's hard to say. But if you want to leave them on your waiver wire, go ahead. Trey Tucker at 3%. I know we're not excited about the Raiders' offense, but some of us are desperate for 12 fantasy points in the flex, and at 80% of snaps and 9 targets for 96 yards, you could do worse, a lot worse. Scoop him up and sit him down, and let's check back next week. Calvin Austin at 2%. Look, the same goes for Trey as it does for Calvin. We're not excited about the Steelers' offense, though it's worth giving some credit this week with Justin Fields. They looked better than Minshew and the Raiders, that's for sure. Pickens in the defense can't carry this team alone, though. And with 5 targets for 95 yards, how could you ignore, or they ignore him moving forward? Stash him, and let's see how he plays next week. 1 position left, 2 players. All right, we have to address it. Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket at 7%. He becomes the first player of the season to throw for over 300 yards and 3 passing touchdowns, and instantly elevates the Panthers' offense, previously thought to be completely washed, Andy Dalton and Dave Canales are cooking in Carolina. If you roster 2 quarterbacks or you have Anthony Richardson, like I do, don't leave the red rifle on the wire this week. And Justin Fields at 27%. I know he's not going to ever throw for 300 yards like Andy Dalton on any given day, but he has the upside in his rushing and has revitalized an offense that's suffered year after year. And it's worth a heart or a stash as the Steelers are 3-0 and they look to go 4-0 as they face the Colts, who arguably have more to figure out at quarterback than Tomlin and friends. These 10 players are the most viable options based on week 3 production, availability, and outlook. If you had an injury or want depth, target one of these guys on your waiver wire and let me know in the comments who you're putting in for and why. If this was useful, like the video and subscribe, turn on post notifications so you stay prepared for Sunday. That's the video. See you in the comments in the next video.